AQUIS Podcast series. We are here at the Financial Museum in Zurich. We're here to hear more about the outlook of 2025. I'm here with Mario. Mario, you're the fund manager of the Lumen Vietnam Fund. You manage the fund for 12 years with almost 10% annualized return and a very low correlation to emerging and developed markets. Vietnam had a great run. Why should investors still continue to look at the Vietnamese equity market and especially at the Lumen Vietnam Fund?
Hi, Karen. Yes, Vietnam has still a way to go. We're just the beginning of a long journey. You saw also the development of the GDP growth over the last 9 months, almost 6.8%, which in Europe we will dream about that numbers, but growth happen in Asia, and especially in Vietnam. We see that the government is moving faster than in the past to get some reforms for the country, and this makes the market more attractive, attracts a new investor. You saw also the numbers of foreign direct investment coming in this 2024 this year, and that was almost $25 billion. So Vietnam remains attractive also due to the questions of some relocation of Chinese company to Vietnam to avoid this trade war part 2 with Trump.
How do you see now with the US has elected a new government, a new administration? There's a lot of talks going on about Trump, and he is looking at the countries with the largest deficit, and Vietnam is amongst the ones who have very large trading deficits with the US. What is the impact of the US administration, the change, and what do you expect from Trump for Vietnam?
Indeed, Vietnam has the third largest deficit with the Americans, but what we saw is that Vietnam is acting proactive. What they did last year already announced a larger LGN project with American companies worth of $3 billion. Then Vietnam Airlines and Vietjet ordered some Boeing 737. Unfortunately, there's a jam on the delivery. With these two investments, you make the balance much smaller, about 25 to 30 billion, which is it's a nice amount. But we see also that Vietnam is a friend of USA. Well, we can talk about the past, right? So what's happened in the past, but what we saw is also that Vietnam's the government also with their bamboo strategy, they're very clever. They speak to everyone. They have all the door open. So with this strategy, you get more friends. And also this agreement, international agreement with different countries or areas makes Vietnam very attractive and is in the spot of the investor.
You mentioned before already the foreign direct investments, that the Chinese companies are very interested at the moment, looking to establish companies in Vietnam for production. How is it looking from the US side? Are the US companies as proactive as the Chinese one?
Yeah, it's a good question. I remember that was December 2019 when the American and the Vietnamese government agreed that if you produce 30% or just the assembling of 30% of a product in Vietnam, then they receive a Made in Vietnam stamp. And this is something which is very important. It was important in the first time when Trump was president, and we see this again now that they stuck on this agreement, and that's fine for Vietnam.
Yeah. Mario, you have a team in Vietnam and you just came back from Vietnam. You have there 12 equity analysts looking at the companies, meeting the CFOs, meeting the CEOs, visiting the factories, the shopping malls, all the invested holdings you have within the fund. Could you share some insights that you freshly brought back from Vietnam and your team found?
Yeah, for me, Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City is my second home. I travel 5-6 times a year there and back. So I call this my dream team. And if we have this successful time and we'll have more success in the future, you need a good team. It's also my second family because I spend a lot of time with the guys over there. And this is also the reason that we were able to grow like that. We're now the largest usage home worldwide. There's a reason behind this fact.
With 350 million, a very impressive 350 million. Congratulations on that, Mario.
Yeah, thank you. It's a nice achievement. Big doesn't mean good. We still work on that to achieve our common targets. to create value add to our investors.
We're here to look at the outlook 2025. Are there sectors or company that you have an overweight, catalysts that you see for 2025?
Yeah, there are a few ones. So the first one is that the government committed for 2025 to increase the investment for infrastructure by 70%. And that's amazing. This has an impact on the GDP growth, which should be between 1 and 1.5%, which is no peanuts. And we will achieve for next year 6.5 to 7% quality growth. So infrastructure, highways, the harbors, the airport, the new airport should be finished by the first half of 2026. This is a 5 billion project. With the highways, you shorten the time where you travel. This is good for the people. It's very good for the economy, for transportation, logistics sector, but also very important for the touristic sector, which now achieved the pre-COVID level, which is good. It's almost 7 to 7.5% of the GDP. You see, it moves in the right direction. We are very positive for energy. Still high demand for energy, as we have a lot of reallocation from other countries, Southeast Asia. And we are very positive for insurance, very bullish for insurance. Industrial parks are in a good position. Banks, yes, but banks, we handpick banks, which has a low non-performing loans. So these are the sectors which we like. And the most important is the sector of consumption.
Yeah.
We see a rebound during the first 2 quarters 2025. And for the real estate residential, this rebound will take a bit more time, I would say second half 2025.
You mentioned the consumer before. It's 100 million population. The average age is 33. So they're very digitalized. Consumption is a big thing. Where do you see amongst the consumer the biggest opportunities?
There are a few companies that we have in the portfolio to invest for this teams, but you have to see that the government did a lot good things after COVID very fast. From time to time on the financial world could be faster, but good things will take time. We see that the proactivity of the government helps to create more wealth in Vietnam. So you see that the people have more money in the pocket. So they enjoy the life, they go out, because it's a young population, as you mentioned, and this is very important for domestic consumption, and this will go on. We saw also during the last few years that the family in the city got smaller, so the parents invest in their kids for the education. Vietnam has one of the highest education levels in Southeast Asia. It's not me saying that, this is The Economist wrote a longer report in the beginning of 2024, and he mentioned that Vietnam has top education. We see also a lot of people going in the IT, which is a very interesting area. Unfortunately, there are not many companies where we can invest. Most of these companies are private equity, unfortunately, yes. But we have FPT, our core holding since 10 years or more, and they deliver the numbers.
NVIDIA is joining together with the Vietnamese government, with FTP, one of your top holdings. That must be very good news for you and the fund.
For FTP, what's very important is 200 million contract for developing artificial intelligence. But more important was the news came out beginning of this week that the CEO of NVIDIA met the government. They want to really push for a factory of semiconductors, of course. And we know also that Elon Musk, he considered to remove some supplier from Taiwan to Vietnam. We talk about the 1.5 billion investment, which is huge. You see also those people close to Mr. Trump. And so the answer is clear. Vietnam is not in a position where you should be afraid, or in a position where you say, what could happen? I think I strongly believe that there's a good relationship between United States of America and Vietnam.
Mario, this brings me to my last question. FTSE is upgrading Vietnam from frontier to emerging market. When we look at the liquidity of the market, it has about 800 million daily volume. That's amongst Mexico, Malaysia, who are already, according to MSCI Emerging Market, classified. What does Vietnam need to do in order to get an upgrade from MSCI and attract more investors, open up to a much larger investor base?
Yes, one of the bottlenecks is to clear the message from MSCI. Treat your foreign investor like you own one. With the foreign own limits, it's not given. This has to disappear. We see the more and more premium disappear, which is a good trend since 2 years, but we're getting closer. We know that FTSE Vietnam will latest upgrade Vietnam to emerging market status by September 2025, maybe even earlier, maybe March. We don't speculate on this. It takes a bit of time. The big animal, MSCI, could happen 27. So 26 maybe shortlist, 27 add to the emerging market status. Of course, it's a big economy. You mentioned the early turnover. That's very important. With also the new system, which should take place next year, you have even more volume because this is a daily trading possibility. Even more, you can add in the market the security lending and borrowing, which will additionally help the liquidity on the daily basis. And this is evolution which I'm very positive on this.
So we have a very good outlook, not only for 2025 for Vietnam, where we see the US administration being positive towards Vietnam, Vietnam being proactive, trying to reduce the trade deficit with the US already. The American companies close to the US administration investing actually in Vietnam. So we have, from that point of view, a lot of good signals pointing towards Vietnam. And then we have the longer, or the view that MSCI is actually looking to upgrade Vietnam to become an emerging market country by classification. I think that's a very good note to end this conversation. Thank you very much, Mario, for your time and the insight on Vietnam. It was a pleasure, very exciting to hear about Vietnam.
Thank you. The pleasure was on my side.